85% of students that start learning an instrument in junior high, high school, elementary school, whatever it may be, they stop playing at the end of high school. 85% of them. And then they never pick it back up. And then you talk to those people and you're like, man, I wish I kept with it. I wish I
Yeah.
stuck with it. I wish I had, here's the classic word, the discipline to stick with it. Right.
Yes.
And my thought automatically is like, but it shouldn't be about discipline.
Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hirsch Redman.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
In the hot seat today on Yes Brand is Patrick Boylan. If ever there were a random genius that we wanted to dissect, this gentleman would be this gentleman would be it. What are all the pieces that come together to make this guy the fun and exciting entrepreneur that he is? He's a skilled multi-instrumentalist, first of all, and he's the co-founder of MuseFlow, which is a groundbreaking music EdTech platform, often referred to as the Duolingo of Music Education. And Patrick was frustrated by the limitations of traditional music education. It's something I can relate to as well. And he began exploring a self-directed practice, and that reignited his passion for music and led him to focus on sight reading as an engaging learning tool. And it also teaches bite-sized skills through sight reading, allowing students to master new concepts efficiently and enjoyably. They get to focus on reading and playing music at first sight. And because Patrick loves sharing his insights and learning and ed tech, and he loves inspiring parents, teachers, and self-learners, this is the perfect platform to introduce his particular brand of genius. I know that word makes him uncomfortable, so I think it's funny.
A little bit, Hirsch, a little bit.
Anyway, please welcome genius Patrick Boylan.
You have to say it. You have to say it again.
Or Whiz Kid. We could say
I'll take
Whiz Kid.
Whiz Kid's fun.
Please welcome Whiz Kid Patrick Boylan to the podcast. How are you, buddy?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well. You know, LA is beautiful here. Yeah, we're looking good. I was just up in Reno over the week, and that was dreary. It was dark and cold.
Dreary because of the weather, but it's a fun little town.
Don't get me wrong. I love the town. I think it's great. I love the fact that it's so adventure outdoorsy, you know?
Yeah.
My wife's parents live up there. They retired up there. And so all they do is they go to the Mount Rose, they ski, and then during the summers, they'll be mountain biking. And you're like, this is great. This is a great retirement. They've got a great little village set up for themselves and they love it. So, but now back in LA, hitting the ground hard.
But I was in Reno in July, and I was struck by it's like a little mini Vegas.
Yeah.
But the casinos are pet friendly, and literally bring your pets into the casino. Not that your pets would necessarily love being in a casino.
Right.
Like that's not I don't think they fall for the idea that this is somehow, designed for them, but they do have pet programs on the TV at the bar in the casino there. So it was just a little bit mind blowing because we stayed in a hotel that was pet friendly, but it looked like kind of like a W type, like it was nice looking hotel, but it was pet friendly. But then when you go outside and you take your pet outside, you realize, you can bring him into the casino. You can bring him. Amazing. He could sit at the bar and watch TV while you play poker. So
he watched. You're right.
Anyway,
that's cool. That's cool.
So very, very cool. Well, tell the audience a little of your backstory, and then we'll get into MuseFlow.
Yeah, I grew up in the back of a dinner theater watching my dad perform on stage with all of his friends. My first joke was on stage at that dinner theater. It was in the middle of a show called The Dry Gulch, or was it Gangster Town? It was one of the two. It was
Yeah,
Chicago, a bunch of thugs with their Tommy guns during Prohibition, and they're like, hey,
right.
what are we doing? My dad was one of the gangsters, and I came on up there in my little tiny little, suit that was pinstriped and a hat, and I say, hey everybody, I got a joke for you. You ready? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna roll up my tie. I'm gonna roll up the top section, and I'm gonna roll up the bottom part. Okay, I'm gonna roll them up to the top, and I'm gonna set them up here by my throat, and I'm gonna let them go at the same time. Which one do you think is gonna end first? Which one do you think is gonna get down to the bottom first? The top or the bottom one? And I like pull the audience, and everybody's like, the bottom one. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let it go, and I let it go, and they drop, and I say, oh, it's a tie. Like, and of course, like some 8-year-old kid sitting, like doing this little stupid little
Right.
joke, like gets a riot, and like I was bit by the theater bug at that point,
Right. And it's almost unfair because that's not necessarily the reception you're going to get
No,
as an actor just in general.
not at
But,
all. No, grueling. It was
but
so, yeah, go on. Sorry.
no, no, please
Well,
continue.
I was just going to continue with the story and like how that was the theater bug that, and then I did a bunch of plays in high school and college and musicals and everything like that. And then I moved out to LA. And I had representation right outside of college. I got a great manager right out of college, and so moved out here. All the while I'd been playing piano my entire life, and I never even thought about that as a career choice. You know,
Yeah. Well,
um,
what with your every kid has kind of a different experience, but a lot of parents want the kids to have music as part of being cultured. Your dad was an actor, so
mhm.
obviously encouraging you in the creative arts is not stretch, but how what was your relationship like with the instrument?
I loved the instrument. I asked my parents if I could start playing piano when I was, I think, around 8, like right around then too. Um, and my parents were like, it's a lifelong hobby, right? And I said, yes, of course. I know it's a lifelong hobby. I want to do it. And they're like, okay, we're gonna hold you to that. And so, like a year into taking lessons, I started hating it. I didn't like the traditional way that people were taught, which is, if you guys don't know, the traditional way of teaching music goes like this: your teacher gives you a new skill, whether that's a new rhythm or a new note, and then you have to go home and practice a song, one song or two if you're lucky, that exercises that new skill that your teacher gives you. And then you have to practice that over and over and over and over. And then you got to come back the next week and play it perfectly for that teacher. And if it's good, if they accept it, stamp of approval, you move on to the next skill, the next couple of songs, so on and so forth, right? Is that how it worked for you? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I didn't have lessons
Okay.
because my sisters both my older sisters both took lessons, and that's kind of what I witnessed. And
Mm,
the repetition of boring stuff was enough to turn me off. And as I
mm.
mentioned when we talked, before, I loved tinkering, on the piano and just playing a little bit
Right,
and
right.
doing it by ear. And my mom was like, at this point, if you take lessons, you'll probably just get sick of it and you'll lose interest in your love. You'll lose your love of the instrument. So just keep doing what you're doing.
I love that.
You're doing it on your own. And later, I felt like, well, she was right, but at the same time, I wanted my kids to have a little more of the music theory,
Mm,
and I've had mixed success. Some of them dig it, some of them don't. You know, one of my daughters got to the point where she had taken lessons for 4 years and done really well with it, and then just gave it up, wasn't
mm.
interested in the lessons. The other one, the youngest, who's now 10, took lessons for a year and a half and also felt like, but you hear her on the piano all the time sounding out songs,
Love that. Right.
so there's that thing that a lot of us have where it's a fascination with the instrument and a rejection of the rigid instruction.
Yeah, and I think you're not alone in that. You see that all the time. 85% of students that start learning an instrument in junior high, high school, elementary school, whatever it may be, they stop playing at the end of high school, 85% of them. And then they never pick it back up. And then you talk to those people and you're like, man, I wish I kept with it. I wish I
Yeah.
stuck with it. I wish I had, here's the classic word, the discipline to stick with it, right?
Yes.
And my thought automatically is like, but it shouldn't be about discipline. It shouldn't be about grinding against the methodology of teaching an instrument. No, the methodology should inspire you to want to play the instrument. That's the goal of any teacher. That's the goal of any teaching instruction pedagogy,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. So I was thinking, I was like, okay, so flash forward, right? I ended up taking 8 years of lessons. I hated every second of it. My parents had to ground me so that I could practice. I literally wasn't doing it, right? And so I stopped piano lessons, and then I went back to the piano after a couple of months taking a break, and I found my parents' sheet music. They had a bunch of musical theater scores and vocal selections and whatnot. And so I went back and I flipped through them, and I found little pieces that I really loved, little phrases, little motifs, whatever it may be, a pattern in the hands or something. And then I put that in my body. I memorized that and I closed the book. And then I just started improvising around those phrases, putting them in different contexts. I put them in the left hand, put it in the right hand. I inverted them. I changed the key. I slowed it down. I changed the time signature. Like whatever, I just really fleshed it out, right? That one specific phrase inside of an improvisation. And I was like, that's really cool. So I kept doing that over and over and over. Cut to college. I was the only acting major that actually knew how to play piano. And so a bunch of musical theater nerds were throwing music in front of me in the concert halls when we had downtime, saying, hey, play this for me, play this for me. I want to practice it. I want to practice it. And I was able to actually play that fluently.
Wow. Yeah.
Blew my mind. I didn't know that what I was doing at that time, my self-learning, my self-directed learning, I was taking the core concepts that made up musical theater. I was taking those phrases, those core building blocks, and I was learning them outside of the rigid structure of songs. Because the problem with the application directly from that skill into a song, the application directly into a song, is that you're only learning that new skill in the context of that one specific song. So it's not cumulative. It's bad skill acquisition because you're only learning that skill in that song. Then you never are able to apply it to other songs. So I was learning the skills outside of the context of songs. I was learning it through a myriad of contexts that I put that new skill inside of, right? So when I saw a song, I was able to actually apply what I had already learned to that song. When I saw that little building block pop back up in all these different songs. So flash forward to here in LA. I did 5 years of acting here in LA. I did a bunch of cool stuff. I did some TV. I did some film. I made my own stuff. I did a bunch of sketches with friends, but it wasn't really creatively sustaining or financially sustaining for me. I don't know really what it was because you don't ever get feedback that much. You can take classes and everything like that and you get feedback from that, but the process of auditioning is actually you're secluded to that one. You're never really getting feedback from that, right? And so I got really burnt out from being a waiter and from doing these small projects here and there. After 6 years, I was really depressed, and my wife was like, "Why don't you go play piano for a living? You're so good at it. Just go do it." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." So I did, and 3 months later, I actually got my first gig, and it was an after-school program for musical theater students that left their regular curriculum to then after school as an extracurricular go at this conservatory, this after-school conservatory, learn musical theater, learn choir, learn a bunch of different arts, right? And so I was an accompanist there. And then I got a background jazz gig at a restaurant. I got another background jazz gig at a restaurant here in LA.
So Patrick, to do the educational gig, what was required of you?
I needed to be able to play musical theater songs at first sight.
Okay.
That
with music.
And
so you would
say it again.
So you would read you would read the music. You knew how to read music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was more what you had done was kind of teach yourself through this different method. how to do it.
And the skill that I had taught myself to read musical theater music at first sight was extremely applicable to being an accompanist
Right.
in a musical theater class, because these students are coming in every day and they're saying like, okay, I want to learn this song, or I want to learn this song. And the teacher's like, okay, great. They throw it right in front of me and I have to play it verbatim, or I have to
Right.
play it really close to verbatim, so that the student doesn't get messed up, you know?
Right.
There's also another gig that I do all the time, which is playing for auditions. Musicals are constantly being cast here in LA, and I'm brought in to be the accompanist for those auditions. I go into the room and all these people, all these actors just throw music in front of me all day long. And I have to read it pretty well so that I don't mess up the actor that's singing
Right.
the tune, for the audition. So that's another skill that I had, another way that I can apply the skills that I learned to actual career paths,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that when I was doing it, of course. But of course, here I am after getting these gigs around town, these couple jazz gigs, this after school program, auditions. And then I got my piano bar gig. I played a piano bar here in Hollywood. I got that gig. I was finally able to quit my serving job because this became my day job, ostensibly, even though it was at night, right? It was still my day job. It was satisfying
Yeah.
my financial needs. And it was very creative and I loved it. And so at that time, I kept thinking, I'm like, maybe there's a way to kind of port over the way that I taught myself how to play piano. Maybe there's a way to actually make this user friendly and other people can do it. And maybe we can actually teach people in that way, learning music at first sight, being able to play it at first sight, because that's such a skill that's extremely applicable to a lot of music performance gigs out there. Right. And so
Right.
that's where MuseFlow came into play.
And talk a little bit about the name MuseFlow, the flow state,
Yeah.
yeah, what inspired that?
Well, we came up with that name right off the bat. Me and my co-founder, Steven, who's a music teacher. He's a piano teacher. And we came up with that idea right off the bat, MuseFlow, which is muse is music. Muse is also the Greek gods, the Greek goddesses muse, the muses, to inspire, right?
Right.
They're the ones that inspired a bunch, the people. And so we were like, okay, that's a cool idea. And then flow state. I don't know if you know the concept of flow state, but
Yes. Yeah.
it's that groove that you find where you're completely absorbed in the process of whatever you're doing. A lot of athletes and musicians talk about this. They talk about flow state where you're engrossed in the activity that you're doing and it's perfectly positioned so it's right outside of your skill set. You're challenged just a little bit because every human needs a challenge. And it's not boring. You're being challenged just a smidge, but you still have a proficiency that you're working with. And so you're adept at being able to do the thing. And I was like, maybe there's a way to apply that concept to music education. Nobody's really ever thought about that. And so what we do with music, with MuseFlow, is we give you music that you've never seen before, right? It is constantly streaming in front of you and it never repeats. And it's at a specific skill level where you're applying the new skill that you've been taught, whether that's a new note or a new rhythm, whatever it may be, right? We give you that new skill and then you immediately apply it to music that is right at your skill level. And we can start you from one note, 3 rhythms, both hands. We can start you from that small, that easy of a skill level, right? And so then you flow, you play that music, you flow, you keep going. You're messing up constantly, but it doesn't matter because you still have to keep going. And you go and you go and you go. And eventually you can lower the tempo, lower the pace, and eventually you just keep going. And then you play 4 phrases at 95% accuracy at the goal tempo and you pass the level.
And it's for the first time. What you're playing is not, you're not going back and doing it over and doing it
No.
over. And that's the genius, forgive the word. That's the genius though, seriously, to it, is that you're not doing the same thing over and over, which leads to frustration. You're constantly, it's like one of those piano video games where
Yeah.
where you have to keep up with the notes and you're
Yeah.
hitting the thing and you have to
Or
keep moving
Guitar
your,
Hero, you know?
yeah, yeah, Guitar Hero. And so it's just streaming in front of you and you
Yep.
have to keep up with it. But as you get better and better, you do better and better. And what's the delivery system of this program? How is it taught?
Right now, it's on your computer, on your browser. You can use Chrome or Edge to go to our website and just start your free trial from there. You have to have a MIDI compatible keyboard, a keyboard that can hook into your computer. Later down the road, we're currently building these features right now. We're building the app so that you can use it on your phone or your tablet. We're building out an audio recognition algorithm that will be able to listen to you so you don't have to jack in your keyboard into your computer or your device, whatever it may be. So we're building those out as we speak. But right now it is computer based and it is MIDI compatible keyboard. That's what you need to start this. And the interface is smooth. We've got 2 lines of music that pop up right away for each level, 2 lines of music. And then you go to that second line of music. And then that first line will then be regenerated with new music, again, that you've never seen before. And it never repeats, right? And then once you get to that end of that second phrase, you pop back up to the beginning of that first phrase. And then you play through that first phrase again. It's technically the third phrase at that point, right? You play through that phrase, and then the second phrase will regenerate to the fourth phrase, and so on and so forth. So you just keep doing this kind of zigzag motion with your eyes, and the cursor is going with you, and you're following the cursor. We got this little bar, this little see-through blue bar that follows you as you go. Not follows you, it actually guides you as you go. Yeah, so that's kind of the interface. You know, I think you'd have to see for it for yourself to actually see it. But yeah, that's
And what's the interface kind of time? What is the lesson time, if you will, that is pretty typical, or what a student might ordinarily spend on it?
It's interesting because we don't really think about it in terms of what is the average time that somebody will play a level, because you get people that start from level 1 and go straight just level 1, level 2, level 3. They'll do them in 30 seconds. 30 seconds here and there, go all the way up to where their skill matches the challenge. Right. And then they'll spend 3-4 minutes on that level. And then they'll move up to the next one. They'll spend 3 to 4 minutes on that level, keep on going. And eventually they'll find a place where they're somewhat plateaued. You know, a lot of people find it right around level 15 or 16, because we got a bunch of intermediate players that come on through MuseFlow and that are using MuseFlow currently. They're right at around level 15 or 16. And so they spend a decent amount of time really working through that. They lower the tempo so that they can't pass the level, and they play that music that keeps regenerating until they get 95% accuracy. And then they're like, okay, I've gotten a decent proficiency at that tempo. And then they scooch the tempo up, scooch the tempo up, scooch the tempo up. Then they're at the gold tempo, and then they can pass the level. That's the sort of gamification aspect of this all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really varies. It really depends on the person of what is the average time spent on a level. We can see anything from 30 seconds to 35 minutes to an hour. Some people, we have a couple of users that use MuseFlow. They've already passed all the levels. They've already passed our curriculum. We're building out Unit 2 right now, but Unit 1 is consisting of 26 levels. We have a couple of users that I'm like, why do you keep playing level 26 over and over and over? Like every day they're sticking on level 26 and they're playing for 30 minutes a day. I'm like, what is going on? So I email them and I say, hey, what's up? Like, why are you doing this? And they send me an email back. 2 people in particular have emailed me back and said, I just love playing the music that's generated. It's beautiful. It's fun to play. So I lower the tempo by 1 beat per minute so I never pass the level. And I just keep playing the music that is brought to me, that is put in front of me. I just keep playing it and I lose a sense of time and I get so engrossed in the present and in the moment. And then I'm like, okay, great. 30 minutes a day. That is what a gift to be able to be present for 30 minutes a day. Yeah. And then they go off. One of them in particular actually mentioned that they have a really stressful job. And so they come to MuseFlow for an opportunity to disengage with the world for a second and just engross themselves in the present. That locks them into reality after coming home from a really stressful day. And then they can be with their family afterwards and they can actually enjoy the day with their family and friends, you know?
And it truly is a flow state. They get to that point where they're just kind of going, they're just going with it,
Yeah.
and they like the feeling. Is there a certain kind of music or choices of styles of music, or how does that work?
Right now, it's pretty non-genred, I'd say. A genre, a dash genre, a genre, like, you know, like atypical, a
Right.
genre.
Genre agnostic.
Genre agnostic. Yeah, yeah. Right now, it's genre
Yeah.
agnostic. But later down the road, we're building out a curriculum for rock, pop, musical theater, jazz. That's down the road. We're probably going to be doing that not next year, but the year after. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we're in it for the long run, man. We've got a lot of features that we're building out, and we're stoked about it. It's great because you're building it. I'm building it with friends, and I'm building it with
Yeah.
people I love, and we get along great. And so,
Well,
yeah,
let's talk for a minute about the brand aspect, the MuseFlow brand, the marketplace,
love that.
and where you're positioning yourselves.
We're a completely revolutionary way of teaching music. So we can kind of do whatever we want when it comes to our brand. We don't need to be we don't want to be the traditional, you know, classic Microsoft look of like rigid structure and like we're here for as a tool, you know, we're here for the business. No, no, no. We want you to be immersed in the world of MuseFlow. We want to create an ecosystem of features that you as a user can go on in and enjoy. And so we thought about that for a little bit. We're like, what are some really immersive, I don't know, brands? We couldn't really find many brands that do this, but we kind of mixed a combination of, I don't know if you've ever seen pictures or what is considered to be lo-fi, LO-FI. It's a
Okay.
type of aesthetic that is very kind of fuzzy yet beautiful yet
Yeah.
cozy is a big word that we love to use. Cozy. So we've made MuseFlow, the user interface, very cozy. We've made it a relatively dark mode. We haven't made it light. We've made it so it's very calming and it's very cozy. I don't know how else
Yeah.
to
Well,
describe it, right?
cozy is good. Yeah.
And then we thought about, okay, well, we can't make it just
Intimate.
cozy.
It's kind of
Intimate.
intimate. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, cozy sounds really great. Lo-fi is awesome. I love that lo-fi aesthetic. Like there's
It's an
some,
intimate, genre agnostic, lo-fi aesthetic.
yeah, yeah. But then we were like, okay, we need some sort of angles though. Cause like lo-fi is typical and like coziness is like very smooth angles, right? But we're still an app to teach you how to play music. So we need it to not just feel cozy. We do also need like angles and we need stark contrast between colors. And so we found a lot of that aesthetic in typical user interface dark mode kind of feel, right?
Yeah.
And so we kind of combined both of these things. We brought it to a fantastic user interface designer, UI UX designer, Jessie Leanne. She's amazing. She's actually married to one of our co-founders, and she is so talented. So we brought it to her and we're like, here's our mood board. It's kind of this lo-fi, cozy feel, intimate, but we also wanted to have these angles and stark contrast between light and dark and foreground, background delineations. And we're like, okay, so it's like mid-century modern meets lo-fi, cozy aesthetic. And she's like,
Yeah.
done. Okay, let me do my job and let me do it. And so she made our user interface as it stands right now, and we're obsessed with it. We absolutely love it. It's going to be building out a lot more. The ecosystem of features that we want to build can't just be housed in the UI that we've designed right now. So we're going to have to break it out just a little bit to create a sort of map for you to be able to pick and choose what you want and choose your own adventure. We do want to create a curriculum that you can follow, but we also want to create something that is egalitarian and an ecosystem that you can just go in and do whatever you want to with. So we soft unlock a bunch of stuff, meaning like it's all there for you to be able to play, but we've gamified it so that at the end of a level, actual songs get unlocked so that you can actually go apply the skills that you learned in the sight reading trainer. You can go apply that to songs, right? But if you dig a little deep into the repertoire section, you can actually see that those songs are still available for you to play no matter what, whenever you want to, you know? So
Yeah.
we've kind of created this combination of the two things, and we love it. I think our aesthetic is unique. But that being said, we didn't have to position ourselves in a way that was in direct competition with the traditional ways of teaching music, because we're teaching in such a radically different way. So we can kind of decide to do whatever we wanted to with it.
Right. But the people you compete with are probably those people in the marketplace that are also non-traditional. So in other words, you have those people who say we're non-traditional instruction. Or I
Not
mean,
exactly. No, they're trying to
no.
port over. No, they're trying to co-opt the traditional ways of teaching music
Okay.
into an EdTech product. They're trying to make the classic, here's a new skill, here's a new whatever. Let's go apply that to a song immediately.
Right.
And they're trying to streamline that for you. We're saying, no, there's a better way to learn music. It's through sight reading. And then you apply that skill to songs.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
we're adding another step to the educational process, and we're making that step extremely engaging, right? So they're just jumping from here's a skill, go apply that to a song. We're adding a step in between. So in that sense, they are trying to do the traditional way of music education. They're trying to do the traditional way of teaching. And so you look at their brands and you're like, okay, you can get a little cozy, you can get a little fun, but they still look either too kiddie for me, too childish, or
Yeah.
they look too bland. They look too much like a tool, like a rigid
Yes.
tool,
Yeah.
and we want to be a world that you
Mm.
get into, you know? So yeah, I can see our competition doing something very different. And so we were just like, no, we kind of want it to be our own thing. And we wanted to
Yeah.
create a world for you.
Well, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that world concept because it truly reflects the revolutionary aspect of it. You're also creating a new experience for the player. We talked about this a little bit
Yeah.
when we met, was that, this is the experience that the student of piano, who at whatever age, has is is different because their entry into this world is going to be a completely different experience. That's why I'm interested to have my daughter try it, because I want to see how someone who has a certain skill level already, but is not interested in elevating those skills through any traditional means,
Mm-hmm.
can do more than just what I did, which was just leave it to chance. Leave it to,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, just kind of leave it to whatever I figure out on my own with no method,
Mm-hmm.
which I felt after years of doing that was not enough. But I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't go and do the traditional thing. And obviously, as you get older, you have less time. You don't have time to do the traditional thing, even if you wanted to say, "Oh, I'll work with my daughter's piano teacher and I'll do a couple lessons. I'll do a lesson a week or something, whatever it is." It doesn't work. We don't, as adults, have that ability to go back and now pursue the traditional theory and training. We're
Right.
past it.
Unless you really, really wanted to do it, then of
Yeah, I
course
mean,
you'll
you
make
could.
time.
Of course you could, but our
Yeah.
tendency would be to not
Right.
stick with it.
And so we're trying to re-inspire and reignite that love of music in people that dropped it after high school. We we find that a lot of people are enjoying it because we're non-traditional, right?
Yeah.
Because you can flow and you can just play, and it's not really about passing the level. That is of course when you get the dopamine hit. We've kind of capitalized on that aha moment of like, oh my gosh,
Right.
I'm getting it. I'm actually getting it. Holy cow. And then you pass the level. Like, of course, that's a part of it. But we also know of a decent amount of people that are using this and they're just enjoying the aspect of the flow. So you are inevitably going to be learning. That's the beauty of the method, is that you're inevitably going to be learning, but we've made it We've gamified it in such a way. We've engaged that aha moment. We've engaged the impulse to want to just simply flow and grow and learn in such an easy way. We've taken out all of the barriers to entry in that regard. Internal motivation is just simply there because we've made it so fun.
Yeah,
You know?
I love it. I love it. Well, Patrick, let's do this. I want to first tell people where they can find you, but then if you can give a word to entrepreneurs in the creative space. You know, when you're speaking to people who are doing something different, as a lot of our listeners are, they're doing something different, which sometimes makes it even harder to convey or harder to get it out there, harder to find acceptance because you're rocking the boat, you're doing something different. Maybe a word of advice to entrepreneurs in the innovation and creative space.
Yeah, I think there's two things that I do love to talk about, and I like to mention to entrepreneurs that are interested in the creative space. There's too many people that go and grab an MBA and say, I want to create a business, but I don't think that's necessarily needed to do what I'm doing. I found a problem in my own life and I wanted to solve for it. And so I said to myself, here's how I learned how to play piano. Maybe there's a way to actually engage other people in the way that I taught myself how to play piano. That's the hole that we wanted to fill. So I implore you to not go outside in saying, I want to create a business. What business do I want to create? Okay, cool. That sounds awesome. Great. Now let's test it and see if people like it. 85% of the time, it's not going to work. People aren't going to like it that way. What you have to do is look inwards. What you have to say is, what is a problem that you're having currently? Or what is a problem that you had in your past? How do you solve for that using the skills that you have? Or using the people around you that you want to include in your sphere. You know, we had a decent amount of software engineers in our sphere, and we said, let's make an app, you know? And so we were lucky that some people two of our engineers actually pitched themselves to us. It was wild. We would never have been able to inspire these people to work so hard at their, outside of their day job on MuseFlow. We would never have been able to do that if we didn't have a cool product that was solving for something that was very specific and very unique. So that's the one thing I would implore you to be able to do is look inwards and say, what is that thing that I need solved? And then make that thing.
That's awesome. And then if you could just let everybody know where to find you. It'll all be in the show notes, but just
yeah. Oh, I'd love to give you guys a discount code too.
Wonderful.
I would love to give anybody who wants to try it out, please. I don't know what you're thinking, but maybe like yes 50 or like brand 50 or something like that.
Yes is good. Yes 50
great.
is good.
Easy enough. Let's do yes 50, and it's going to get you guys 50% off for life. Okay.
Wow.
I want to hear what you think. I want your daughter to try it out, and let me know what you think. You can go to museflow.ai. That's our website, museflow.ai, and start your free trial from there. Read a little bit about us, read our blog. We've got a bunch of stuff up there, a lot about our methodology and how we're teaching and why we're teaching it this way, all that stuff, right? Goes into deep dives on flow state and learning curves and all that good stuff, right? But yeah, ultimately though, it's the website. Just go there, find us, museflow.ai, and use the discount code, the coupon code YES50 to get 50% off for life. And please email me if you like, or email support or info@museflow.ai. Don't put that in the show notes because that's going to get spammed. But like, you can email me, please, patrick.boylan@museflow.ai. Like, I'm here to have any chats you want about this. I am excited for you to try it. So yeah.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. It's been wonderful having you on the show. I've really enjoyed this, and I wish you guys a lot of continued success. I will definitely be following up about it and letting you guys know what our experience is.
Thanks, Hirsch. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and
it worked for you,
yes, then.
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.